Hello everyone. So today we'll be talking about objects once again. In our last video we already talked about some data structures and data types, like what other data types are there other than object, but let's not repeat ourselves and let's focus into object a bit more. So object is a data type of JavaScript. As we can see here, the object type represents one of the JavaScript's data type. It's not only JavaScript's data type, but it in many languages as well. In Python we know it as dictionary, and in JavaScript it's an object. In most other programming languages it's an object. It is used to store various keyed collection and more complex entities. Objects can be created using the object constructor or the object initializer. So we will be looking into these two. So we can either create with object constructor or object initializer. So we did create objects previously with object initializer. Object initializer is a comma delimited list of zero or more pairs of property named and associate value of an object. So what it means is, in an object, let's say we have obj, it's an object, and we have a as Arshad, b as Sajjad, c as Rifat. So we have this object, and this is a comma delimited, which means it is separated by commas. In other JavaScript code we use this semicolon to differentiate between lines. As I have mentioned previously, we can write another console log here and it will not throw an error, but if I remove this, we will be getting an error. The same is true for object as well. Let's add a semicolon here and not a comma, and as you can see we have a red mark right around here, which is saying, hey, this is an object, this is not other JavaScript codes. You cannot use semicolon here, you need to delimit it by comma, you need to separate it by only comma. So for object we use comma as our separator, and we can store here anything, any other primitive data types like string, number, or we can even store function, as I've said in my previous video. But we were getting some undefined, and I actually figured it out why I was getting undefined, because the function isn't actually returning anything. It is for later videos, because we are not talking about functions yet. I need to comment out the bottom object here. Okay, so let's see how our function didn't work in our last video. So this is an object, right? This is an object and it is separated by commas, and this is the whole object. We can use console.log to see the whole object right here, and here it is, salary 40,000, hobby gaming, and sleep. It has put the whole function right here. Let's go ahead and call the sleep function, just to demonstrate that we can store function in here as well. And as we can see, the hello is console logged out. We can use other things as well, like hello Arshad, let's say. Okay, hello Arshad, and we get an undefined right here. Now we get an undefined because the function isn't returning anything. We will be talking about the return statement a bit later on when we talk about functions, but for now let's just add return Arshad here as well, and now this line will print out to Arshad. Yes, it did. Okay, so this was for last video where I couldn't actually print this out because I had forgotten some of it, because most of these stuff we don't use a lot in our day-to-day projects. We use objects a lot, but we do not use functions like these in objects usually. Okay, so let's go to our next step, which is, okay, the console log of object here as well. We can run this Mozilla document code snippet. Let's run this and we can see that we are getting object1.a. Let's copy this code and see it in our browser. Object1 and object1.a. Let's comment out these previous ones because we don't need it. Okay, so we are accessing the object1 object. Let's just log the object1 object and we get the whole object, the whole definition of object with curly braces as well. And we can access different key value pair from here by tapping the key. Let's tap the key of first one, which is a. So when we do console log object1.a, we will get this value back because this is the key and this is the value. So it is stored as key value pair. This is the key and this is the value. So when we try to get the value, we tap the key, and we did that here, object1.a, and we get foo. Let's try to access b here and we get 42. Let's try to access c here and we will get an empty object. So this is an empty object. We can actually use empty object as well. Like let's go for this and we get now empty object. Okay, so now how do we define objects outside of it? So we can, there's one way to do it like this. Let's set a key of mood and then add happy, and we can use it like this, like previously we did previously. Okay, so there is another way, like object1 dot money. Let's set to none because I don't have any money. Okay, so let's log the money, and as you can see it says none. So we can define object values as well just by adding more key values like this. Object dot let's say salary. Okay, 4,000. Let's keep it 4,000 and set it to number as well. Okay, so object1 dot salary, and we can access 4,000 here. Okay, so let's get back here, and they didn't do it right here. Okay, so there are other ways as well, like we can define numbers here as well. Let's go for number. So object1, there's a property of 1, and the value will be, the key is 1, sorry, my bad, the value will be sad. So how do we access this object1.1? You might think, okay, we can do this, but we actually can't. Let's see, missing bracket close after argument list. So this is not how you access number. We do instead this, and as you can see we get sad. We can do 2 here as well. Let's say joy, and access the second one here as well, and as you can see it says joy. So basically what we're doing here is we are indexing it just like arrays, what we did in our previous or the video before that. So we were using the index to access array variables, but now we are doing it for objects. So we pass in the key here and we can get the value of that key. Okay, so mode is not defined. Let's try to pass a string. So anything we are not passing as string will try to look for a variable. Okay, so let's create a variable right here. So variable will be friend, let's say Rifat. Okay, so we can access, we actually need to add this one first, my bad. So let's go for object1 dot friend, and now the object key is added with the value and we can access it. As you can see, object1 the third bracket, then string, and string the key, string value of that key. So we can pass in 1 here as well. let's pass in 1. Oh, my bad. 1. And as you can see, we get sad because the 1 has the value of sad. Let's try to access number 2, and as you can see, we get joy. We don't need to pass in string here because 2 is not a variable right now, and we can access joy pretty easily. Okay, so I was talking about variable, my bad. I actually just got back to regular object. So let's go for friend 2 and add Sajad. So I want this to be the I want this to be passed here, right? So let's go for friend 2. Okay, so now what we are doing, we are passing this variable as the value pair of friend 2. We can access this like, let's go for a console log of object 1 dot friend 2. So what do we get? Let's comment this one out to avoid confusion, and we get Sajad, of course, for line 129. So the friend 2 is Sajad. So this is the key and this is the value. So the value is not a string value, it is a string, it is a string actually, but it's a variable, and I have passed the variable here, and we get this. So the value, we tap the key here and we get the value of Sajad. We can do it like previously as well. Let's go for friend 2. Okay, so this key is not taken by this from this variable, I mean. So we can do it like this, we can do it like this. Friend 2, let's avoid confusion and add friend 3 here. Okay, so we're tapping this key to get the value of friend 2, which is Sajad. So variables are just a way to keep some value to a variable. So variable is a place where you store your value, just like object. Let's say we store our values here, right? We are storing it as object 1, and then we're keeping different key and values here. Okay, so let's move on, and we can do it like this as well. Just to demonstrate, let's go ahead. Oh, we must use colon in between them to differentiate that the left side part is the key and the right side one is the value. So let's go ahead and log object 1 and pass in the foo colon bar here, and as you can see, we get string literal property. We get the same thing, we got the same value here, and we are getting that right here. Okay, so then let's go for the next part, object literal syntax versus JSON. These are a bit advanced topic, we will skip these for now. And okay, so we have some nested objects here, so we can have objects inside objects. So this is object 1, let's say, and let's skip this one, object 2. Okay, object 1 is already defined. These names are very clashing with each other very much. Okay, so we got object 1 and we have object 2 inside of it. Let's go ahead and access object 1. When we log object 1, we get the whole object, foo bar age 42. Object 2 is the whole object, and where we get my prop and 12, another object. So let's go ahead and access this with like object 2, and we got the whole thing, the whole object here. And let's access my prop, and this is now 12. Okay, so this is another object, and we can go into object and into another object just the same way, like dot object2 dot my prop. Let's do another one, object3. Let's say my name, let's say Arshad. Let's add another object here as a value. We must add objects as a value, not a key. Let's go for walk. Okay, walk. Let's do walk. Walk time should be 20 seconds. Let's not define it. And let's go for the distance, which will be 20 kilometers, let's say. Just an example. Okay, so how do we access the time right here? We want to go for that time. Okay, so we go for object 1. So we have written object 1, and next thing is we need to find out in which is the parent object of this time. So the parent object is this one, walk. So this is an object, and the parent object is this, actually, my bad, object 3. So let's go ahead and write object 3 here. Let's delete this to avoid confusion once again. Object 1 dot object 3 dot walk. Okay, so where we are at time and distance object. So this object. So how do we access time now? Let's go for dot time, and as you can see, we got time of 20 right here. So this is how nested objects work. And yeah, let's move forward. Accessing properties. Yes, we did show this part just now. So how do we access object.foo? Let's copy this to show you guys. I had copied it previously, but let's just delete and create another one. So object dot foo, my bad, object dot foo, just like this, and we'll get bar, of course. So this is the value defined here for this foo keyword. We're getting the value of bar, which is a string. Okay, so we can go for object age like this, just like we did previously, object age, or we can get object age like that. We need to put it in string, because otherwise the JavaScript is expecting variable from us. Okay, so age, we can access age by using like same thing as array indexing, right? So we will be talking about array indexing and other things later on, but let's just focus on object and really understand objects. So let's go ahead and access the buzz, the nested objects, same example as I did just now. So we're getting my prop and 12, the whole object, and we can access my prop and we get 12. Yep. Okay, so next stuff, property definition. Okay, how do we define a property of an object? We do it like this normally, right? Const object1 equal to curly braces and then key and value, key, and this is the value, and then we access it like log object1 dot key, and we get the value, right? So they're showing here how do we put variables inside of this value, just like we did here with friend2. Let's go ahead and run their example as well. Let's go ahead and log o, the whole object. This is the whole object, and we should be able to see the whole object here, and indeed we are getting the whole object. So let's tap in a, and what we'll get this a, which is a variable, not a string. This is a string a and this is a variable a. Okay, so there's no quote here, so we are getting the variable here, and the variable has a value of foo. Let's go ahead and see what we get for o dot a. So we are tapping the a key and we are getting the value of foo because this a variable consists that foo value. Let's go ahead and do a b and we get 42 because this b variable has 42. And let's go ahead and tap c finally, which we'll get is an empty object because the c has an empty object value here, and this is an empty object, there are no values. Okay, so there is a shorthand notation available to achieve the same. Okay, so we have some shorthand properties. We should be actually trying to do this longhand and not shorthand, but just in case, let's show it to you guys and make you understand what's going on. So shorthand property is defined like this. So longhand is this and shorthand is this. Let's give it a different name like b. Okay, b is also defined, my god, q. Okay, so we have defined a different name here, and we're doing essentially the same thing here and here. Let's see what we're doing here. So what we're doing here is we are defining the key and the value both. So we are saying o will have an object and the key will be a and the value will be variable a, and the key will be b and the value will be variable b. We don't need to necessarily put in b here, we can do it k here as well. And let's go ahead and log o dot k and we will get the same result, empty object. Or let's go for s here, o dot s, and we will get the same result here, 42. Okay, so what is this doing here? So this is essentially setting a variable for q, and it's saying okay, store the whole value of these variables and go for the name as the key and the value as the value. So we are going for object, we're creating a variable first, and then we are assigning the value and the key according to these value and the key. So basically the constant name is a, I mean the variable and constants are almost the same thing, only the you can change constants. So we are assigning this variable as a, and we are I mean I mean we are assigning this q variable as abc as an object, and it's essentially putting the variable name as the key and the value as the value. So let's log q and we get the whole object just like this. Let's log o as well to show you guys what's going on, and we are essentially getting the same result here. So we are doing a key value of variable name and the value. So let's try to tap in a, we get a. Let's try to tap in q dot a and we get the same result. As you can see, we can change the name here, I think. Let's go for k. Okay, so this is how you change your variable name. If you want to change your key, let's say we want q dot now if we log q dot a, we will get, it is okay, k is not defined, my bad. So should we do it like this? I'm not sure. Oh, okay, no, I'm defining, I'm doing it the wrong way. It's the other way around. If we do if we put the object on this side and we want to destructure it, we can rename it like that. We can't do it right here, my bad. Anyway, so let's go ahead and see duplicate property names. Okay, yeah, so if we have duplicate property names, let's say we have a and we have value of 1 2 3. So what do you think will be the value of o dot a? So we are accessing the same key essentially, right? But we will get 3 because it is overwritten by the last one. Let's comment out last 2 and we'll get the value of 1, and the comment out the second one and we get 2 and we get 3. So it is being overwritten by same key but the later value. Method definition, get property. Okay, these are not for now. We will be talking about that a bit later. Okay, we can talk about these, but it will be a bit advanced because we don't know these increment stuff yet. We will be talking about this a bit later. Okay, let's talk about spread properties. So if we want to clone an object, how do we do it? Let's go ahead and learn that. Let's say we have object 1 and we have an object 2 and we have bar buzz xy values and the clone object. Let's log the clone object and see what's the result. Oh, my bad, I need to first talk about how do we clone it, right? So we just do, let's say this is, let's write it down, let's not just copy and paste. Cloned object, and we need to do it like obj1. So we have copied this object right here, and if we do cloned object, we get the same object as object1. So essentially we are doing a shallow copy of this, as we can see here, shallow cloning or shallow copying, whatever you say. So shallow copying, what shallow copying does is, there are two type of copies, shallow copying and deep copying. So shallow copying is when you copy an object by its reference and not by its value, I think. Let's go ahead and Google it. Deep copy versus shallow copy. Okay, shallow copy stores the references of the object to the original memory address. Deep copy stores copy of the object's value. Okay, so there's another thing to talk about, like copy by value, copy by reference. We will be talking about that a bit later, I think, not for now, but let's just understand this is how we clone an object. So let's go for obj1 and 3 dot before it, and must use these curly braces to clone an object. And as you can see, we get the same object here, foo bar x42, and clone object, this is a different variable, this is not this, and we are cloning this. So we have now two objects just the same. As you can see, we are logging obj1 and we are logging cloned object, and we are getting the same value essentially. Okay, so okay, we can merge it as well. Let's say we want these two objects to merge it in one. We can do it like dot 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 obj1 comma and dot 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 obj2. Essentially it's creating a copy of object 1 and it's creating a copy of object 2 in the same object. So this is a new object, brand new object with the value of both obj1 and obj2. Let's type it out. Let's do merged, and let's go for dot 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 obj1 comma dot 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 obj2, and let's log merged. We should be able to see both of the objects. Yes, so there are both of the objects, but you would expect to see 4, but there's only 3. Why is there? Because this baz has overwritten the bar, and as you can see it shows foo as baz, not bar, because it has overwritten it, as I've mentioned previously. If we use x here, you'd see now only 2 values because this 13 will override the 42, and as you can see it gets baz and 32, not bar. Okay, so prototype. Okay, we'll be talking about prototypes a bit later on. Okay, so that does it. That's pretty much everything you need to know about object initializer, but we have object constructor as well. So how do we do object constructor? We do new and object. It is a bit advanced thing, I would say, and should not be using it right away, but let's just do it for experiment fun. Obj3, let's say, and let's go for new object and put the value of keys. Let's log object3, and what do we get? We get string and keys. We get all of the different properties like k, e, y, z. Okay, so these new and new object constructor, we will be talking about constructor functions and constructors as well, but not now, not for now. Let's just understand object a bit better, and let's try to do everything there is to cover object. I will link these object initializer object MDN pages down below, so you can have a read all by yourself and explore more. So if you have any queries or if you didn't understand anything, feel free to comment down below or reach out to me by social medias, of course. Thank you very much, and I will see you guys in the next video.